Hello, everyone, and welcome to Backseat VR Developer, the show where we are playing virtual reality titles alongside of the developers that have created them. And it is amazing to have you here with us. My name is Alex VR. I am one half of Between Realities, and I am joined here by the other half of Between Realities. His name's Skeeva. Hey, Skeeva, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. I love this game. I am excited to get into this.
I am too, because it's not just Skeeva that's joining us today. We also have Lucas Martell. He is the director EP over at Walkabout Mini Golf Mighty Coconut. Hello, Lucas. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
We're excited. This game is a lot of fun. It's a mini golf world, and I'm really excited to get into it. We should also take a second to introduce Sarah from the Walkabout Mini Golf team. She's going to be joining me here in the multiplayer experience. How you doing, Sarah? You doing good?
I am swell.
She's swell and only going to get better because she's about to crush me in some mini golf action. So
yeah, you're really on the hook being part of the team, Sarah. If you don't just smoke him, we're gonna have to take a day of mini golf training or something.
And you know that there's no better feeling. There's literally no better feeling than beating someone who's a part of the development team at their own game. So don't give me that satisfaction, Sarah. Okay.
I am part of the team that represents novice players.
Well, we'll see what happens. So one thing I'm kind of noticing right off the bat here, it almost seems like this could just completely be played with one controller. Is that right, Lucas?
Yeah, in fact, that's something that even in when you first play a game, the tutorial even says put down the other controller. The idea, here, let me grab mine. Because the idea behind it is essentially that when you're putting, if you've got two controllers, they bang into each other. And we actually ran into some issues where with two controllers, they actually overlap like this. And then the tracking doesn't work very well because people want to hold it like a golf club. So I usually hold it like this. A couple people do different things, but yeah, as long as you don't cover the ring, it's fine. But yeah, just holding it like that really gives you that stability. There's also a decent number of people who play with the, they've got tons of different people have extensions that you can actually hook the controller into an actual golf handle. It feels really nice. You even get the little vibration that travels up the shaft of the putter. It feels really surprisingly just like playing in real life.
And it's definitely liberating to drop a controller. You don't really get to do that very often in VR experiences. Yeah. So I feel light and free and ready for this.
We've noticed that it's also very handy because you can have one control in your hand and your coffee in the other and sort of or whatever your beverage of choice is. But yeah, it's a nice balance.
Oh man, Skeeva, we messed up. I should have had a beverage in this hand.
Have a light.
It's a light beverage.
Yeah.
One other thing before we jump in here that I noticed was Skeeva's phone is ringing. One thing that we jumped in here that I noticed was when Sarah joined me, it actually unlocked all of the courses that otherwise I would have had to unlock. So that's kind of cool. We kind of get access to all of her hard work and unlocks when she joins the match.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the new feature that we added a little bit before Christmas. But yeah, the guest pass feature. So yeah, whenever anyone in the room, whether they're the room leader or not, just anyone who jumps in, if they've got a course unlocked, it will unlock it for you. If you haven't unlocked it yourself, you just won't be able to do a couple of the other finding lost balls or the fox hunt or some of those other things. But you can still play the full course, so everyone can still mini golf it.
Great. All right. So what do you think? Where should we start, Lucas? What's your go-to?
Let's see. I'm always partial to, why don't you try one of the new ones? How about Gardens of Babylon is fun.
Ooh.
Haven't seen it. We've been trying to mix them up on the streams or on the various different places lately. That's one that I think that people haven't seen too much lately.
All right. You want to do the front 9 and then maybe get a change of scenery after that? How does that sound?
This is actually, I've played through everything in this. I've been a fan of this game for some time, and this is probably my favorite. I really like the whole Mediterranean Greek, vibe going on here.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. We've been having. I don't want to say anything too much about the upcoming courses, other than we've announced a couple of them. But yeah, we're really starting to break out and have a lot of fun with the course designs and just how it's still mini golf, but how far can you push it, and some of really sort of making the locations an even bigger part of the game, because the mini golf is obviously the thing that everyone's going there to do, but especially when you're playing with other people, you're spending all of your time walking around these environments and really taking them in, and it's a really, really huge part of the experience just to be in these different places. So
come on, why you gotta do me dirty like that, ball? All right, Sarah, this is your opportunity to pull ahead.
So as we go through these courses, for people watching, there will be balls hidden around all of these courses, and you can find the balls and collect them. And when you do, you can then use them on different courses, right? And if you find every ball on a given course, then you unlock the night mode of that course. Is that right, Lucas?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways to unlock. So night mode is also sort of like a hard version of the course. We relight everything, but we also change all of the holes. On some, there are minor changes that make it more difficult. On some other courses, it's actually almost sort of a completely redesigned sort of course experience. But yeah, you can unlock those by either collecting 10 of the 18 balls, because there's one on every hole, or if you score par or under, it'll also unlock the hard mode. So yeah, there's a couple different ways of getting those. But yeah, it really is sort of like, once we figure that out with the hard mode and the night mode, it's amazing how different it feels to play a the same course, but at night with just some redesigned holes. It really does add a lot to the experience.
Now, one thing you mentioned is that because I am on Sarah's unlocked course, I'm actually not going to be able to find any hidden balls. You have to earn it in order to get in here and find those hidden secrets. So maybe the next level we'll pick one where I can discover some hidden balls on the course and have that thrill of kind of discovering some of those secrets.
And then on top of that,
if you do one of the easy courses.
Oh, no worries. So in the night mode, then you can, once you have the balls unlocked, right, you can then solve riddles in order to unlock custom clubs, which I thought was also a great touch.
Yeah. So the night mode, we replaced the lost balls with, we call it a fox hunt, but it's essentially like a treasure hunt where there's clues that lead from one to the next, and sort of like, it really forces you to kind of study the environment that you're in and basically follow, I think they're between like 10 to like 15 sort of clues that will lead you around the course, and you've got to find each one in order to sort of unlock it. But yeah, each course will unlock a custom putter. In fact, it looks like if you get closer to Sarah, I think that is she playing with the Babylon putter? Oh, you're playing with the Cherry Blossom putter.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's one of the custom putters that she's unlocked by doing the fox hunts.
I've got some work to do to catch up already. That first hole for me was a bit of a nightmare. Oh, come on.
Nicely done.
Woo!
Wow.
All right, I'm feeling pretty good now. That's all I needed.
Nice.
So I've got to know, man, Lucas, what's it been like for you guys at the office with the success of this game? Because a lot of times, Sarah, no. A lot of times when I hear people talk about this game, I really only hear how much fun everyone has and how approachable it is, and so many people use this as like a social VR experience. So what's the vibe like at the office after getting such a reception?
It's been fantastic, and we actually just got together with a not all, but maybe a little over half of the team a couple of days ago, because we're 100% virtual. We do technically have a small office, but it's only about 2 or 3 people who sort of go in there or we'll use it as like a meeting space, because we're kind of in Austin, but we've got folks all over the place. But yeah, it has just been fantastic getting the reception that we have, and the community has been so nice. And I think the thing that we're most excited about is the fact that we get to kind of keep making more of these courses and building on the game and adding more. So we've just did a big working through some of the features that we're going to be adding and working on throughout the rest of the year. We've got courses now. I was just looking, we've got essentially 8 additional courses that are fully playable, that are just sort of like in our development mode that we're still doing all the work on. But then even beyond that, we've got another 3 courses that are actually like blocked out and laid out. We just need to kind of get all the holes designed for them. So we have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that we're just kind of excited, because making these mini golf courses, it's the perfect size of like, it's large enough that you get to do something cool. You get to design this space, but then also you get to do something totally different on the next one. So it's just kind of that game designer or the world builder sort of like itch. It's just fantastic that you get to do such a wide variety of stuff in different styles, and yeah, just sort of like just hop around between so many different things is a lot of fun for us.
All right, here we go.
But yeah, like I said, we've got a couple, and we're it's also we're in some of the upcoming courses, we're also starting to play around a lot more with some of the mechanics. We've started dipping our toes into that. Like I think Shangri-La had sand is sort of more like you could actually get stuck in sand traps. Coyote Valley had the wind mechanic. We're starting to do some really fun stuff with more of those. Not every course, because we still feel like a lot of people want to play the more base mini golf, but it's letting us do a slightly wider variety of just mechanics and start to come up with really new hole designs that are built around very specific mechanics for each level.
It's pretty cool having a putt-putt experience in virtual reality, because putt-putt, it kind of like by its nature has this kind of like whimsical and fun and colorful kind of approach. So often I go to these things and they look like they're trying to be this, they're like bright and exciting, and if you're making a VR experience, if everybody out there knows, in VR you're so embodied, so it really it feels like a putter in my hand, and it feels like I'm at a putt-putt course, but you guys are able to do so many new and exciting and creative things that just being in our brick and mortar sensory perception reality you're not really able to do.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about OSHA. We don't have to worry about putting railings everywhere and, just all those. We don't have to worry so much about player safety if they decided to walk off the edge of this giant canyon. So it lets you do a lot more big things. But yeah, we also kind of think of it like almost some of these would be sort of like theme park versions of different places, or even with some of the IP that we're doing, it's almost sort of like a theme park version. And and the other nice thing about that is that it also really lets you kind of like get in there and figure out how things are going to work and rearrange stuff, and sort of like not having the budgets or some of the practical requirements that you would often have with a theme park in terms of like how much space you could use, how much, just like where you're allowing people to go, where you're, how, you could throw up in a whole other building and it's relatively, it's not a massive construction project. So actually, Don Carson, who is our senior art director, he actually came from Walt Disney Imagineering. And we're just now starting to see, or I guess probably it's not going to be until the next course that comes out, or even the couple after that, that you'll really kind of get to start to see a bit more of his influence on that, because he's definitely sort of taken that storytelling, that theme park idea. Oh, that's a heartbreaker.
That is a heartbreaker.
Wow.
So close. But yeah, it's really starting to, we're bringing even more of that in and starting to push the worlds and the storytelling and just the graphics and everything even further. So, yeah.
I was
something
just
else
in,
that
I was just in Disneyland, and I am like in the firm camp that they were creating immersive experiences before we had this kind of technology. It was like VR before VR existed. So it is amazing to hear that you've got somebody from the Disney team to kind of help you guys do this. And because this is so right here, I need to ask you about this. So right here, this is like a situation in real life that you don't want to be in. Like the ball is right up against that rail, and normally it's like, okay, what do? Do I like squish this thing in between this? Like, what do you get the distance of the putter is a rule that I've seen before. What was your guys like? Did you think to yourselves, oh, do we want it to go through this railing? Do we want to force them to stick to the side of that? Like, did you have to like kind of think about your approach to situations like this?
So this was one that a couple of people have asked about, like adding an option in order to do that. And the real reason that we did it, how you're seeing right there, where you can essentially, your putter just goes right through it, is that if we were to stop your putter from going through, it starts to get really weird because your controller isn't being physically restricted at all. So if you try to move your controller past that and it stops your putter, now it's getting disjointed, and it feels really unsettling that, oh, I've got such exact control over this, and then now suddenly I can't. So that was one example of something that we just sort of like, we said, okay, we're not going to try to do this exactly like the real world. We're going to kind of invent our own thing, which allows the putter to just go through anything other than the ball.
Same with my embodied experience, like I can like get like basically inside of this this pillar here to get a comfortable position to take a shot at this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was one other thing that we've kind of, a lot of games will sort of do something where they will like black it out when you go inside of there, and there's a variety of reasons that we haven't quite done that. But it's also we're like with mini golf, even flying is a great example as well, where there are a lot of restrictions that we could put on it, but we've also found that people like the freedom of just being able to kind of fly wherever. And even if it means like, oh, I'm going to pass through this in order to explore some other area, it's a really, it actually makes it a far more comfortable experience, because VR motion sickness, where it really starts to feel weird, is whenever the camera is doing something that you are not in direct control of. And because you're flying in whatever direction you're pointing the putter, it gives you really, really exacting control over how you're moving. Oh, nice shot. It gives you really, really exact control, and many people have commented that flying in this game is actually one of the more comfortable as far as like a free movement sort of situation than in many other games. And it is largely just because you have such exact control over it, and you're not worried about keeping the player. Like if this was a first person shooter or something, you'd have to do a lot of work to make sure that people weren't cheating the system by going into a wall where someone can't fire at them or something like that. Since we don't have that restriction, we just sort of let people fly anywhere, and if they clip through, that's in some ways it's better than having to
fly. You hold your putter above your head, right, and you hold the A button. Is that how you?
You just push the thumbstick forward like you're teleporting, and yeah, you could see Sarah flying around there.
Ooh, whoa! And she scaled up too.
Oh yeah, she scaled up to God mode. Yeah.
She is massive. She's like Andros from Star Fox.
Yeah, that sense of scale that you get in VR, it never quite translates. That's all. I think that's the sort of like the perpetual thing that all VR folks are trying to. How do you convey like what you're really, how do you convey that VR experience when just in a video? Because yeah, you don't get that sense of that giant looming head, that giant head, massive, just looming in front of you.
Mm-hmm. So I'm basically just gonna have to pick my poison here, huh? It's like, all right, which one do you think it is? Oh, she's giving me a hint. Which one do you think, Sarah? Middle? All right, let's see what happens.
By the way, I think Sarah had herself muted for a moment because her dogs were barking at her, so she might not be on audio at the moment.
Good looking out, Sarah.
I can hear you guys. Yeah, spare you.
You're just intensely focused on crushing me in this.
Yes, my job's on the line.
I didn't say that. I just said that we might subject you to some putting lessons for.
So how often do you play this game, Lucas?
So we actually just kind of switched up a couple of like in the weeds sort of like production things of how we're doing stuff. So we are now doing about 3 or 4 play tests a week with the internal team. We've kind of gotten it so that rather than us having a meeting about courses that are in development, and because there's so many courses in development, it was starting to just be like meeting. So for a few of us who are sort of overseeing everything. So we've actually switched it over so that we're starting to do just more regular play tests. So pretty much the full team gets in at least a few times a week, but many people on the team are literally playing it, 80% of their day almost, and sort of like especially the QA folks and all that. So yeah, so we get in there a lot. I have to admit though, I have not had as much time to play just for fun. In fact, the few times that I do actually get to do it a bit more, it's usually when we're doing like live streams or something like that. So yeah, I played this a whole lot. And especially when we're also developing the course, it's great now that the way it's set up so that you can basically just put on the headset, hit play in the editor, and you can just instantly go in. And if you need to nudge some pieces around in order to make a whole work a little bit better, it's super, super easy to do. So
are you awesome at this game or what?
I'm actually about a middle range player now.
Yes.
It's actually really nice that we've got a wide variety of folks on the team. Oh, if that gets up there.
Please. No.
I'm a mid-range to one of the better players, but especially if I ever play against folks who are on the especially on our Discord, where you get a lot of the really, really seasoned players, they smoke me every time. And to be honest, I kind of like that. We spend so much time testing stuff and working things out that we're not necessarily trying to figure out like what is the best way to play this hole for score. We're trying to play the hole in different ways, just constantly sort of doing different things. And it means that we also often don't sort of find the best way to play things the most optimum way, or we're just trying so many different things that we're not sort of like as practiced at it as some of the more professional, or some of the more, the tournament players and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to just sort of like see how other folks sort of like have learned to play the game, and hacks that not hacks like just like, oh, if I go this way on this hole, I could catch this amazing bounce and skip over this other wall. It still feels very realistic in terms of the physics and everything, but yeah, just interesting approaches that people have perfected. It's so much fun to see.
So first of all, what headsets is this available on, and like what do you like to play it on? Like what do you think is like the best experience?
So it's available on both Quest and Rift and Steam VR. So just about all of them. We are actually on Pico as well, which is coming to Europe here pretty soon. So we're on most of the major headsets. I think most of the development team, we largely use the Quests just because they're the easiest, and there's a decent number of folks who don't necessarily have a VR PC, especially folks who are doing more on the concept art side of things. So we just use those because it's quite a bit easier to have everybody on the same headset, especially when we're doing all the beta testing. We don't have to build for every single platform. But all of them are great. I would also say, though, that the Quest, we play largely on that because the Quest is the most difficult to get right, because you're playing on a standalone headset. We know that if we can get it to run smoothly on the Quest, it's going to run just fine on everything else. So, and the visual quality is better on, like, if you're playing on Rift or on a Vive or a Vive Pro or something like that. So yeah, it is actually we turn up the resolution a good bit. We're not using any of the LODs. We're not using any of the sort of like, we're not turning anything off. So it does actually look a decent bit better when you're playing tethered on a PC.
That's nice. Always gives a little bit of incentive to those out there who have the PCs at home and the higher end headsets. They can get a little bit of a visually increased experience in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks fantastic. Just the resolution, it's so crisp because we're not pushing the visuals as far. We're aiming more for it to work across the board and everyone to have a good experience, rather than trying to just sort of like spend a lot of time dialing it in for, one very specific, the small subset of power users and stuff like that. But we can still at least turn all the bells and whistles on for them.
That's nice. One thing that I've noticed about this game that I find is pretty interesting is that it seems like a lot of people actually come in to Walkabout and hold meetings, like for real life stuff. They'll have like a business meeting while cruising around in here and doing a, like having a round of golf or whatever. So is that something that you thought would happen, or were you guys kind of taken back by that?
Yeah, not particularly, to be honest. The whole multiplayer thing was kind of a late add. It was something that the Oculus folks actually pushed us to do even just a couple months before release. And I am so glad they did. The only reason that I was holding out was just that I hadn't done multiplayer. And at the time, multiplayer VR it wasn't much of a thing because there weren't that many people with headsets. But we just happened to be right place, right time when we launched right before the Quest 2 even came out. So now there are so many people playing multiplayer, and so yeah, it wasn't really something that we expected. It's been more how VR has evolved and just how many more people are getting into VR that's making it possible basically to be doing stuff like that. Yeah, for people to hold meetings. So we have now that the game has been out for a little over a year and a half now, we've definitely added some features to make things easier, and we've got a few more things on the roadmap that we want to just help support some of those alternate use cases of people who are doing meetings, or even like I think in just this latest update that you guys are playing on right now, just the ability to mute individual people, because a lot of people are playing like, it'll be like just like you and Skeeva right now. You guys are both in the same room, but if we were all playing together, you'd want to mute each other so you're not getting weird double audio going on, things like that. It actually works really, really, just adding some quality of life things like that to make it work in as many different situations as for many different use cases as people are using it for.
All right, so we got to know a little bit about some of these like partnerships that you guys have been putting together with these well-known IPs. Like I know you said earlier that you've got somebody on the team from Disney Imagineering. I think you have somebody else on the team too, like from the film industry that kind of like got some of this stuff going for you. Am I right?
Yeah, so Michelle Martell, who's actually not a relation of mine, but she's also in Austin, but she had worked at Henson and Sesame, and she was actually at the WWE for a while. But yeah, so she is on the deep in the licensing legal side of things and manages a lot of that for us. I also actually come from the film side of things as well. So I had done a short film called Pigeon Impossible, and that was the basis for Spies in Disguise, which was the last Blue Sky animated film that came out with Will Smith and Tom Holland. It came out like right before the pandemic hit. Wow. So I actually come from a film background, and most of our team, I would say, has an animation background. We've been adding a couple more folks recently who have more games experience, which is nice. But it's been interesting sort of like realizing that we kind of come at game design almost more like an animated, I don't know quite how to sort of like say exactly like here and there is sort of like exactly what we're doing differently, but we definitely have a different mindset and a slightly different approach to how we're designing some of these worlds than someone who's been doing exclusively games for the last 15 or 20 years would have. So yeah, it definitely adds a flavor to the game that I think is cool and unique, but it's also great to have a couple people who have done this before and now like, oh yeah, that thing that you're inventing some crazy way of doing it, this exists, like just here, it's a plugin, just do that, and now that just saved someone like half of their week.
So the first partnership that you guys announced was Labyrinth, right? The movie Labyrinth. How long were you sitting on that? Like you must have been biting your tongue for at least a little while before you were able to announce it.
Yeah, I think we actually probably closed that deal at the end of probably like November, December. So we actually had it in place, and we've been working on that course for 7 months, I think, now at this point. And it'll be coming out this summer. But yeah, so again, that's the nice thing about folks coming from the film world is that we're all used to sort of like, oh, you've got those, you're working on something cool, but it's all under NDA, and we've got to wait to announce it because even though we're announcing stuff a good bit ahead of time, typically we've already gotten a good bit of work done on it before we sort of tell the outside world. So yeah, so Labyrinth, we're super excited about that one. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but we've been playing it quite a bit lately as we're kind of like trying to get all the kinks worked out and everything, and just really right, because there's a lot of folks, there's a lot of high expectations for that one.
Did you see that shot, Lucas?
That was a great shot.
I missed.
Wow.
I missed it actually.
If you press
I can replay it?
Hit the
hit B and you can see it again.
Oh, there it is. Whoa.
Nice. Oh.
I look like Skeeva, everybody. See? Hey, Skeeva.
That was a great shot.
That replay feature is it's super handy for showing off shots and even just sort of like figuring out what happened and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's
that is a great feature. I really enjoy
one
it.
of the not to go too down because I know we're kind of chatting about some of the license stuff, but yeah, one of the big things that was sort of the idea behind this. Oh, there's one right there you can pick up.
Oh, how do I get this?
Pull the thumbstick down.
Oh, God mode. Okay. Oh,
there you go.
Yes. Lost ball. Amazing.
Yeah, so one of the big ideas behind the development of this one was that we wanted it so that the entire game could be played with nothing but the trigger. And that's kind of proven to be great because there's a lot of folks that kind of use this as they're sort of like, okay, you're in VR. This is the very first thing, but you can warp to your ball. You can select all the menu stuff. Like you can play mini golf with nothing but that one button, which makes it super easy to onboard folks. And there's even a decent number of people who are playing with their parents and grandparents. And it's the idea is to make it as absolutely easy as possible for everyone to play. But we also have a lot of those other features that we've added that, of course, there's more depth to it that we can add by, tapping into those other things. That's just, we try to keep it that it's completely optional. But anyways, jumping back to what you were talking about with the licensing side of things. So Labyrinth, we're hard at work on it. We've almost got all the finishing touches put on that one, but that has been That's I can't say too much about it, but it is going to be by far the largest course that we have ever done. Just when you actually look at sort of like it could almost not be a mini golf course anymore, just because the sheer size, because you really want to sort of like represent that whole that idea of the labyrinth and this sort of like endless sort of maze that goes on forever.
Well,
So
you picked an IP that a lot of people are very passionate about. So I'm glad to hear that you're really putting a lot of time in, and you're going to really do the fans proud here. So.
Oh yeah. And the idea with all of the licensed stuff is that it's something that people will enjoy even if they don't know it, but the fans will get a lot more out of it. And it just really feels like, I mean, Labyrinth in particular feels like a great example for kind of that idea I was talking about earlier with the theme park, is that this is in some ways kind of like the closest thing that the fans have gotten to sort of like a Labyrinth theme park. It happens to have a mini golf course running through the middle of it, but just that sense of like, oh yeah, it actually does feel like you're going to a big theme park and going to the Labyrinth world. So we also recognize that this is just such a huge opportunity for the fans to get a chance to sort of see some of this stuff, even though it's going to be mini golf, it's going to be in our style, but yeah, we want to make sure that we get all of that everything the fans want to see as well in there.
Tell us about the most recent announcement that you guys have made.
Oh yeah, so then the other one that we announced about a month ago was that we are also doing a licensed course based on Myst. So the Cyan game, the classic, I think it was 93. But yeah, for a lot of us on the team, Myst was either one of the first games we played or one of the games that got us interested in games and animation and all this stuff. So it's been a lot of fun to sort of like get to kind of recreate that. And I guess the best way of putting that one is that it's almost sort of like a love letter to Myst. We're trying really hard not to just recreate the game, but we want to sort of like, what is the mini golf version of Myst Island? And I think that all the folks at Cyan have been fantastic to work with, and I think they're also really excited because this is also going to be I think that this will be the first time that a lot of folks are going to be able to experience that world together, just because it's multiplayer, and the fact that you can actually have a business meeting on essentially Myst Island is really gonna, there's a real cool factor to that.
That's like time travel, I mean, because I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that Myst, when it came out, was the game of the year. It was PC game of the year, and I was young and I got to play that game, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. Like, getting off of that first level is like literally one of like the proudest accomplishments of my life. I could not believe I figured it out back in the day as a kid, and I felt so smart when I finished that.
I
played it for the first time the other day, and I did not feel smart.
Well, it wasn't instant. I ran around that island a lot, so I will definitely be recognizing any of the homages that go into that.
Oh yeah. We've got a lot of, again, the whole idea is that if someone who hasn't played it, they will still be able to get in and enjoy it. But folks who know the game will get a lot of those little nods and Easter eggs that we're putting in there for it. But that's also one of the things that I think that we're realizing, and also the folks at Cyan are realizing, is that a lot of people have played the game, but there's a lot of, especially younger gamers who haven't played Myst just because it came out in 93. They've re-released it just recently in VR, but for some people it will actually be sort of the first exposure they have to that world. So we also need to make sure that we do a good job in representing it, or the nice thing about the fact that it's mini golf is that when we are sort of like having to take a liberty in order to make our game work in that environment, it's pretty obvious, and I feel like everyone is going to be pretty forgiving of why we're having to make a couple of the small changes that we're doing, because it still has to function as a mini golf course.
Did you play Myst, Skeeva?
I did. Myst was kind of responsible for getting me into PC gaming back in the day. That game was beautiful. It did things that no other game did back then. It was a super immersive game, and I really enjoyed it.
And that was also, I mean, that was pretty much the game that made CD-ROMs like a thing. Like they were around before, but that was the game that caused a lot of people to go out and buy a CD-ROM drive. And I know I saw a really awesome article or a really awesome video interview with Rand that was talking about specifically just sort of like that technology and how they were sort of like learning to work with it. And in many ways, like Myst was kind of in some ways responsible for getting a lot of people into PCs in general, because there were a decent number of people who just didn't, they might have had I don't even know what that would have been at the time, probably just an OG Nintendo or something like that. Mm-hmm. But there were a decent number of folks who got PCs to play that game, or it was one of the things that sort of tipped people into that world. So yeah, in some ways that game is even responsible for a lot of the computing advances that have happened.
And now, not only can we experience it in VR, as it was intended to be experienced with the puzzles and stuff, but now we can go into it eventually into this Walkabout Mini Golf world in VR. And I just got to say, living in the future is really, really cool.
Yep. Yeah. I have to say, like every once in a while, it sort of hits me. It just sort of like because we spend so much of our day to day in VR. We can quickly sort of like kind of forget just sort of like how cool some of this is. And then every once in a while, it hits me sort of like just the fact that any of this even works at all is kind of mind blowing. It totally feels like it almost shouldn't, like when you actually just get into the nuts and bolts of every little piece that has to work perfectly. But yeah, the fact that VR even works at all is sort of a small miracle. And we feel super lucky that we're able to, sort of just, be right there, sort of like helping sort of build more worlds in this space and helping sort of like figure out what works well and what doesn't in VR.
How we doing here, Skeeva? What are you thinking?
We're right about at the end here. I'm curious though, what you guys have planned for the future. Can people expect you to continue to bang out more and more courses and expand this already pretty big game? And yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah, so we're getting pretty close to the point, and we've been targeting this for a while now. We are very close to the point where we will be able to start hitting one new course a month. So the plan is to be doing a lot more of the, basically one new course a month. We hope that we'll be able to continue that cadence almost indefinitely. And like I said, it's actually, in some ways, it actually feels like we're just now starting to hit our stride, because every new course that we come up with pushes things like that we haven't gotten to, the mechanics are better, the visuals are better, just like we're really excited, and I guess maybe I cringe a little at the bang out, because I actually feel like, oh no, like each one is actually getting better and bigger and just sort of doing more and more. So yeah, we're really excited that we get to keep doing more of these, and they really do have, every course has something cool and unique and is sort of taking you to a whole new world. So yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more of those. We've got a lot more features that we're working on. A great example of that was just like the new main menu that just dropped a couple weeks ago. Welcome Island, that has the practice screen. It's got the driving range. It's got a couple of other hangout areas. We're going to be expanding that more. We've got more features, more multiplayer stuff coming, just upgrades to sort of like all of the systems that as more people are coming into the game, we just really, really want to make that the best experience possible, and sort of like it's the perfect game to just kind of continually build on and improve. So yeah, that's
the progression's there. You're just going to keep making this game better, and Walkabout is basically here to stay then.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a couple of other things that we're wanting, but we're staying really focused on Walkabout for the time being. The one other thing that I've talked about in the past that is actually, I can say is getting close. We don't have a release date yet, but we do also have the AR version of the game that's going to be coming pretty soon, which works really, really well. But essentially, it's sort of like it's the exact same game, and you can even play multiplayer with people who are in VR. And then you actually just sort of like line up to the ball and you putt by physically moving. So this kind of becomes your window into the world. We've talked about it on our Discord before, showed a couple of videos, but yeah, we're doubling down to really try to get that out as soon as possible, because there's so many people who have a headset but want to play with friends, or we're hoping that might almost be the gateway that helps get a few people into VR, because hopefully once they see how fun it is just in this, imagine if you're actually in that world.
So an AR version will be on what? Is there like a platform that you guys have planned for that?
Yeah, so that'll be coming to iOS and Android. So yeah, it's basically just about every modern phone that's come out in the last probably 6 or 7 years has the AR capabilities. We call it AR. It's not really true AR. It's almost more like VR, where this is just the window, but we're using AR, the AR kit on iOS and AR Core on Android, as the sort of the six-off tracking that lets you actually, you can actually physically walk over to your ball if you want. So it is sort of a full six-off experience. It's just that your head and the club are the same. So it's we have to change a couple of things, but it's still fully, like I said, it's still fully cross-play with people who are in VR. You just won't notice they don't have a separate hand to move around, so their head will also move along with the putter whenever they putt.
Well, this is really fun. I could definitely just stay in here and keep on putting away for a while. I think we're about at the end of the broadcast here, everyone. I think it's also safe to say that I was definitely going to crush Sarah this round, right? Let's be real. Yeah. Okay. There it is. That's what I'm looking for, baby. Thank you. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. This game, like we said, it's been really cool to see the reception from the community, and it's great to hear that you're just going to continue to build on it, and we can continue to see updates coming from Walkabout Mini Golf for a long time to come. So thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us, and thanks Zara for putting him in his place in that first game.
I need that from time to time. I need that.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Lucas, and thank you everyone for watching Backseat VR Developer. My name's Alex VR from Between Realities. That's Skeeva right there from Between Realities. Thank you so much for joining us on UploadVR.com, and we will see you soon for the next episode. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks all.